On Thai PBS Wow tonight, Finance Ministry says Plan B is prepared if BACC declines to fund digital wallet scheme. The government will carry out digital wallet scheme later this year, but FTI Vice Chairman wants to implement carefully. And the Election Commission still unable to certify senatorial selection results. Good evening, you're watching Thai PBS World Tonight. I'm Frank Kanchi.
And I'm Nat Bunna.
Today, of course, we begin a news story. It's very important actually for Thai citizens because this long-awaited digital wallet scheme is coming. As in, we know the exact period, which is fourth quarter, Q4, at the end of this year. This scheme might be implemented at the end, but the funding is not confirmed yet. It's not intact.
We have to say that the digital wallet scheme has been much publicized and much criticized by the opposing parties.
But right now, actually, we've seen the government trying to get the funding, the confirmed funding from Bank of Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperative. But right now, of course, the government wants to get the funding from that. But right now, we still have to wait for a ruling from the Council of State. The Deputy Finance Minister admitted that the ministry hasn't yet sought a ruling from the Council of State as to whether granting the loan by the BAAC goes against the objectives of the bank, because the ministry is yet to compile all the relevant details about the scheme for sending to the Council of State. And that's the timeline is very important right now because the Deputy Finance Minister say that the controversial scheme is, however, proceeding in accordance with the timeline. They will be forwarded on July 24th to the committee chaired by the Prime Minister before they go to the Cabinet on July 30th, after which the Council of State will be consulted. Of course, at the beginning we talked about the Deputy Minister also said that the third quarter timeline for registration to claim the 10,000 baht cash benefits under the scheme remains unchanged, and the Thai people will receive their payment in the fourth quarter, but he declined to give the exact date. So of course right now it's very important for us. We know the timeline that actually fourth quarter we can see this digital wallet scheme will be implemented and people could register for that at the third quarter.
Right, and if we can give you a recap of the upcoming timeline for the digital wallet scheme, apart from the fact that all this will be forwarded to the committee on July 24th, on that particular date, the Prime Minister will also announce the details in terms of the registration for the digital wallet scheme, as well as the details regarding the identity verification for those who have registered for the digital wallet scheme as well. And apart from that, the scheme will be presented to the Cabinet on July 30th for approval, and this will take place before registration opens. And based on what the Deputy Finance Minister said, that the registration period would be about 2 months. And based on what he said earlier as well is that on 15th of July, the Digital Committee will finalize the details once again, and the Prime Minister will also be included in this meeting. So all of this will be finalized first, and then the Prime Minister will then announce the details in terms of how we register for the digital wallet scheme.
So as what Ned said, actually we already have those constructive dates to implement the digital wallet scheme. But we've seen some critics right now, as in actually this is a very short-term stimulus to stimulate Thai economy, and because according to Bank of Thailand governor commented the government's fiscal stimulus policy, especially the proposed controversial digital wallet scheme, he said that as the country has run a fiscal deficit for about 20 years, fiscal consolidation is needed. Government spending on stimulus, of course including digital wallet scheme, would be just a short-term boost. And in the long run, the economy will reverse to a slower growth rate at about 3%. So this is his concern. This is Bank of Thailand's angle there. Of course, the government also suggested that the government should focus on long-term plan, how to stimulate the economy. Maybe a big jump in exports could help the economy to grow in a long-term way. But of course, this is still uncertain. I mean, in terms of the digital wallet scheme, we still haven't known the confirmed date to implement this scheme yet.
In fact, the Bank of Thailand's governor, Sethaput Suthipat Naraput, never agreed with the digital wallet scheme. And if we remember, the Bank of Thailand has sent an urgent letter to revise the plan because they felt that imposing the digital wallet scheme would put the economy at risk, and they also felt that it will produce a long-term fiscal burden. At the same time, the government may not have enough money for emergency situation if all of the funding is thrown into the digital wallet scheme. And he even commented before that the budget that is used for the scheme could have been spent on more useful projects, whether it's improving transportation, hire medical personnel, or even scholarship for children. That would have been more useful from their perspective. But regardless, the government has decided to ignore what the Bank of Thailand has suggested and decided to move on with the digital wallet scheme, trying to seek all the funding so that the digital wallet scheme can go as planned.
And you know what? Actually, digital wallet scheme requires 500 billion baht.
Yes.
This is a very, very big amount because, of course, we have to fund this 10,000 baht to each of 50 million citizens in Thailand. So, of course, it collects a lot of funding. Right now, we still wait for the bank BAAC to agree with this funding. And another side, of course, I talked to Vice Chairman of the Federation of Thailand Industries to tell us about his insight about digital wallet scheme. He said that actually the government should implement this scheme very cautiously, as what we said about very big funding there. And how about the requirement there? How about the criteria? If I mean the citizens, they really purchase a lot of imported products, that could be disastrous. Let's look at what he has to say about digital wallet scheme. The digital wallet scheme, because actually Bank of Thailand government today say that this is just like a short-term boost for Thailand's economy, and of course at the end the economic growth will reverse to below 3% or about 3% of the GDP. So how about FTI's angle here? What's your analysis?
Of course, if this digital wallet project have been implemented, I think it can also help to increase consumption of Thailand economy expense. But however, with limited resources and budget, I think the government have to carefully consider the desired outcome. If digital wallet can ensure expenditure multiplier effect, it means that people buy product from the shop or trader, and then trader buy product from manufacturer in Thailand. Manufacturer in Thailand pay for worker and supplier. Worker and supplier buy product from supply chain firm. It may be okay to create expenditure multiplier, but if most consumption spent on to buy for imported product or foreign product, the outcome may be shortcut and not productive. So I think depend on how to stimulate or ensure the expenditure multiplier. Frank.
Another issue I think in Thailand is about the products from China, which are very cheap and importing to Thailand, which of course affects Thailand's economy already. I understand that of course FTI has the proposal to the government to increase VAT tax. Am I correct? I think that's correct, because how could the government boast of factories, as in local factory could face the fate of closing their factories immediately? But what's your insight? What's the proposal to the government?
The ratio of the plant or factory shutdown in Thailand increased. Previously, every year maybe factory shutdown maybe around 1% of total factory in Thailand. But in this year, first 6 months, the shutdown ratio of factory in Thailand increased to be around 2%. It may be somebody may think it's still small ratio, but I think it's nearly double from the previous shutdown ratio. So we propose to the government that, of course, China is our biggest trading partner. Last year, Thailand have a trade with the China only around 135 billion US dollar. China is our biggest trading partner. But however, if any exporter, I think we should not specific just only China. If any exporter from any country that ship the cheap product to Thailand or dump at the dumping price, Thailand government should use the countermeasure that comply with WTO, right? Anti-dumping measure or a.
So, of course, for the digital wallet scheme, the vice chairman say that the government has to implement this scheme very cautiously, the requirement, the criteria, and how to purchase goods via digital wallet scheme with a 10,000 baht has to be very clear, because if citizens would just buy imported goods or food or other items online, of course, it would not productive for the economy. And also, he talks about the cheap products from not just from China and other exported too. And of course, he talked about maybe this year they expect 2% of shutdown of Thai factories. So this is a very severe situation there.
And since we're talking about the Thai economy, now let's have a look at a bigger picture, because there has been a recent comment from one of the former ministers on, and he commented on how the Thai economic policy should be implemented in light of the global challenges. So the former Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Parnpree Pahithanukorn said the Thai government should adopt policies and measures to adjust economic management measures and directions to align with global challenges and changes. And in his keynote speech last Thursday, he reiterated that Thai economic policies must also be flexible and adaptable to changes. He also mentioned that the global economy remains volatile since the financial crisis in 2008 and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. He pointed out that global trade and investment have not fully recovered since the pandemic, and the ongoing war in Russia and Ukraine and the Israel-Palestine conflict has exacerbated this. Furthermore, there are other issues such as technological disruption, global warming, and geopolitical tensions that have impacted global trade and investment, prompting businesses to adjust their strategies and global supply chains due to production-based relocations. And according to Parnpree, Thailand relies on exports for more than 70% of its GDP and has substantial income from foreign direct investment. However, global economic changes have led to challenges in exports and foreign investments, which have been the main drivers of the Thai economy, resulting in production-based relocations out of Thailand. And we have been hearing stories that many big companies have relocated their production bases to nearby countries instead, one of them being Vietnam and Indonesia. Furthermore, Parnpree reiterated that political instability with frequent changes in government has disrupted national development policies. At the same time, Thailand's economy also faces external volatility factors such as inflation rates, exchange rates, energy costs, and international trade barriers, and all of that have impacted the competitiveness of Thai businesses. Parnpree, who's also a former trade representative, has some recommendations to boost the future of the Thai economy. One of the examples is that the Russia-Ukraine war has caused shortages of products imported from these countries, and this could be an opportunity for Thailand to export substitutes. At the same time, he did praise Thailand's vision for economic development, which is moving in the right direction from his perspective, such as the transitioning to a digital economy, as well as expanding the Eastern Economic Corridor. So there are still a lot of challenges ahead for the Thai economy to revive once again, and many of the financial institutions have predicted that the GDP, the Thai economy, would be a bit sluggish this year?
I think Kun Bambri point out of many important points, especially foreign direct investment, because of course I talked to so many business leaders. They say that in 2024 and the following year, so much foreign direct investment, new foreign direct investment will come to Southeast Asia. And key question is Thailand ready now? Because you talk about Vietnam, you talk about Malaysia, Indonesia, because Indonesia aims to become the EV hub in Southeast Asia. Malaysia aims to become the factory, the new factory for Southeast Asia to become the production area. And the Vietnam, of course, Vietnamese Prime Minister is very, very positive at this point because he went to Dalian, the World Economic Forum meeting with a cabinet to promote Vietnam's capacity about new supply chain. So actually, Thailand's chance is approaching, but is Thailand ready? Is the transition to green supply chain ready? Is the digitalization fast enough to accommodate all this new foreign direct investment?
And it seems like there are a lot of challenges ahead for Thailand because if we look at the economic growth in ASEAN countries, Thailand is still behind at the moment. Part of it is the COVID-19 pandemic, the political instability, and there are many other things that is holding Thailand back at the moment. And there are many like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia. The economy is growing rapidly and it's like way ahead of us right now.
You talk about their GDP growth. It's very high, 4 to 5%, but Thailand in the first quarter is just 1%-ish.
Yes. So this means there's a lot of work to do so that Thailand can actually get back on track once again so that they can keep up with their neighboring countries in terms of economic growth.
So much room to growth, but according to Kun Bambri, of course, the digital economy, Industry 4.0, and the growth in its economic corridor are positive signs for Thailand, for our country.
And it seems like Thailand is on the right track in terms of trying to transform into a digital economy, but still, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. And now let's talk a bit about politics. Although the senatorial elections have been over since late June, the Election Commission is still not able to certify the results. So Thailand's Election Commission is still unable to declare the final results of the voting for 200 new senators on June 26. This is because the 7 commissioners are still divided over whether they should certify the voting results with multiple unresolved complaints of election rigging and even the qualifications of senatorial candidates that remain in question. The Election Commission spent about 2 hours in a meeting on Monday to discuss all of the relevant issues concerning the election process. But during that particular meeting, it was still unknown when the results will be announced because the senatorial election law does not set the time limit for the approval of the final voting results, only stating that the official results can be approved 5 days after the election process ends. But there have been reports that the Election Commission will certify all the newly elected senators today, and this is based on one of the reports that we came across earlier today, but we still have to wait and see whether the election results will be certified today or not. And meanwhile, the caretaker Senate has been quite divided over whether they actually need to get involved with this process that has been organized by the Election Commission, because we have to say that not just the voting process, but the vote counting and trying to certify the results have been really slow because on June 26th, if we remember on the national voting level, it took almost like a whole day and it went overnight as well.
I think the procedure really took a lot of time in comparison to UK general election because the new Prime Minister Keir Starmer just got into the office 1 day after the election. But right now, we had the result on 26th June, but the new senators haven't been certified.
Yes, and there have been a lot of complaints in terms of election rigging and even the qualifications of some of the candidates. But anyway, some of the caretaker senators have commented that they should actually set up a panel to check and verify the entire selection process. And some people also even said that the Election Commission cannot approve the final results first and then disqualify some of these senators later, only because they found out that some of them were unqualified or involved in any of the vote rigging during the process. But these are just some of the comments from the caretaker senators. But then, even though there have been reports that they are trying to verify all of the results by today, but then things can still happen because many times before, the Election Commission promised that they will try to certify the results right after the voting process, but things happened, things go out of control, so that was why they could not make it on time.
This is how the politics work in Thailand, isn't it? Because actually, in general election, that time, because Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin has been voted as the Prime Minister, but it took months for him to become the Prime Minister. And this time too, for the senator issues.
It's a long process,
Yes.
and we'll just have to wait and see, and whether the new senators will actually take office. Well, they will take office, but actually when? When they will take office.
When will they take office? Because it takes, again, a lot of time to certify, because some senators, caretaker senators, they want to set up the panel, as what you said, to
Yes.
certify too.
And one thing is that some of the caretaker senators have packed up their things and they're ready to leave the parliament already.
Right, so we will see how it goes.
Yes.
Soon. The end of this, before the end of tonight's show, of course, we have a very important, very special coverage about Cambodia and Thailand's conflicts, but it's not going to the negative side. The positive side is that our reporter went to Cambodia to talk to experts on how Thailand and Cambodia could fix the tensions and conflicts and work towards a more harmonious future. Let's have a look.
The physical space and the online space can have effect on one another. And you can see that there is a shrinking wall between the physical space and digital space. So we shouldn't treat online space as something not important.
We can make arguments on a certain thing. But the thing is that the claim or the argument should be based on the reason, the scientific, or based on the evidence. This should be the most important things.
There are two versions of history between Thailand and Cambodia, and this is a factor in the conflict. The conflict between Thailand and Cambodia began before the Internet era. Despite the two neighboring countries having a lot in common, such as religion, culture, architecture, language, martial arts, and so on, these similarities have become a source of tension in recent years, when nationalist groups in both countries have made claims of ownership over these shared elements, fueling the conflict. Dr. Yang Po, Secretary General of the Royal Academy of Cambodia, pointed out that the roots of the conflict include historical tensions, political influences, and nationalism. Additionally, the irresponsibility of online content creators plays a crucial role, as some of them profit from clickbait and intentionally create hate speech to fuel conflict for their financial gain.
This is a very interesting thing and part that social media causes a lot of problems and making a lot of challenges for traditional media, for professional media, that they are quite annoyed. So as professional media, we have to reduce tension as much as possible through the professional media, through the communication between the Journalists Association, Cambodia and Thailand.
Social media users in both countries are bombarded daily with increasingly hostile claims about cultural ownership. This constant exposure risks leading them to mistake the information for fact. The president of the Cambodian Journalists Club also noted that Prime Minister Hun Manet considers this issue to be a priority. He has repeatedly emphasized the importance of professional media and the Ministry of Information combating fake news. The Prime Minister has spoken about the effects of information disorder.
We have around 70% people that use social media, Cambodia and Thailand. Thailand, we have around 70 million people, and in Cambodia, maybe they have 17 million people. We have quite a big population on the social media. Another thing that I think that should be implemented as the methodology to cope with this situation is media literacy.
Dr. Sikare described the reporting mechanisms employed by major social media platforms through which users can flag up inappropriate content. He emphasized, however, that digital skills remain the most critical factor in tackling the spread of online conflicts. He suggested other ways to tackle these conflicts as well.
I think it's the duty as a citizen, as the government as well, to do something like dialogue, right? Right? Some methodology from governments, from the private sector, from the public media, to help each other to cope with this situation.
The situation demands immediate action, and there are many other approaches we can explore.
I think there's a lot to do between our governments to come up with initiative to address this issue, and also what can we do to foster greater understanding between our people.
យើងដោយគាត់ចឹងឲ្យមកផលិតមាតិកាកម្ពុជាក៏ដូចគ្នាផលិតមាតិកាឲ្យច្រើនដើម្បីបញ្យល់ពីអំពីតំណែងតំណងកម្ពុជាថៃផលប្រយោជន៍នៃតំណែងតំណងកម្ពុជាថៃផលប្រយោជន៍នៃការអាស្រ័យគ្នាទៅវិញទៅមកល្អហ្នឹងឲ្យបានកាន់តែច្រើនខ្ញុំគិតថាអាហ្នឹងគឺជាចេះឥទ្ធិពលល្អមកប្រទេសយើងទាំងពីរបាទ
I also would like to please and ask from Thai social media, of course from Cambodian media, at the same time both, try not to stir or to instigate anything that will cause sentiment between the two countries, that cause problem, hatreds between the two people and the two countries.
The online conflicts surrounding cultural ownership have already crossed into the real world, leading to many Thais and Cambodians facing difficult situations. Before things get out of control, it's time for both countries to develop coping mechanisms for online conflicts. After all, we should harness our shared cultural heritage to build bridges instead of walls.
Well, we have to say that the conflicts have been going on for many years already. So it's more like a people-to-people issue to overcome this conflict and to work towards a harmonious future as well, because it requires a lot of understanding, communication, and education as well, so that people understand each other's culture a lot more.
And I think it's a very good saying there, because normally, of course, the conflicts between Thailand and Cambodia is not just on cultural heritages, sometimes it's on territory, but I think this good analysis from the experts that we would, between Thailand and Cambodia, would see a better future.
Exactly. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Join us every Monday and Tuesday at 6 p.m. on Thai PBS World's Facebook and YouTube Live. And don't forget to follow us on social media and our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates about Thailand as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Monday. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ